I've been asking lots of people, as I said, what is Donald Trump's problem now politically? Why are the polls going that way? And what can he do about it? And again, talk to a lot of leading experts around the country. But I also get to talk to people on the two-way platform where people call in from all over the country, all over the world, and offer their point of view to me and to the folks I have on my programs there. And a gentleman was on the other day with a brilliant theory, just a brilliant theory. He said, Trump's been president for less than a year, but Donald Trump, by being on camera a lot, by being on Truth Social a lot, he creates the illusion that he's moving fast, right? He does stuff fast. When he wants something done, it happens fast. He's opposed to the Epstein disclosure bill, and he's whipping against it and saying he's going to primary any Republican who doesn't agree with him. And then bing, boom, bing, as Donald Trump would say, within 5 days, he's not only supporting the bill, but signing it. Okay, he moves fast. And so voters get the sense, this gentleman argued, interesting theory, that he's not moving fast on the economy, right? He's not fixing the economy. Even his tariff policy, which a lot of people think is actually hurting the economy, he says that's not a quick fix. That's going to take some time for the American people to reap the rewards. So if he can't move fast on this and he's downplaying the problems, that may be the realization, not of Kara Swisher's resignation fantasy, but it may be an endemic problem with not just Trump's rhetoric on the economy, but the economy itself, which, if it's like this next year, is a big problem for Republicans. Now, I'm always looking at the clock, and I tend to go in the school of saying, as Yogi Berra would say, it gets laid out there early. That people say, well, it doesn't matter if Gavin Newsom's ahead in the Democratic nomination fight because it's so early. Or, yeah, it doesn't matter if the economy's not good now and Trump's poll numbers in the economy are bad because it's early. I actually think on the second point, certainly, it's getting late. If the economy's not better by the second quarter of next year, it's a problem for Republicans. And it's a problem for the president, not just because of the midterms, but not just because of his so-called legacy, but because of the reality of what does it mean to be a good president, right? Turn the economy around. We're headed to the holiday season. I don't know how much is going to get done. And of course, the Epstein files are supposed to come out in December. Then January or February, we'll have the State of the Union. And there's a massive effort going on now, consulting by the White House with members of Congress, people within the administration, businesses, all sorts of people. What can they do to make things better? But the reality is, for all the focus that people in the media put and pundits put on, does he feel people's pain? Is he talking about the economy in the right way? Is he being too insensitive to the fact that people are hurting? People aren't going to vote Republican because Donald Trump makes them feel better with what he says. They want to see changes. And the real challenge is, what are the policies that could change things? The president supports taking money collected from the tariffs and paying some Americans, maybe not everybody, $2,000 directly. Lots of problems with that. Congress is against it for the most part, and it would be inflationary. Scott Bessent said, well, we'll give people the $2,000, but hopefully they'll save it, not spend it. Good luck with that. And then, of course, they talk about health care because Republicans know health care is a big political vulnerability. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. Anything that changes in healthcare that would really have a significant impact on people's sense of costs for healthcare, it's going to take a while and politically difficult to do. So the president's in a problem. There's a lot of attention paid this week to some of the divisions between the president and his party, where he appears not to have the sway he did. And presidents lose sway when their poll numbers go down, right? Politicians that get the power of polls. So the president wanted Republicans to get rid of the filibuster. Didn't happen. He didn't want the Epstein disclosure bill to pass. He was forced to capitulate on that. He's tried to get Republicans in places like Indiana to redistrict their states to potentially pick up House seats. In Indiana and a few other states, they've declined to go along with him. There's some other examples, but the president still has a lot of unity, however, within his party. However, if we go into next year, and his poll numbers are like they were in that Fox poll. And again, the Fox poll is not an outlier. You see the same trend lines on the president's standing on the economy in other public polls. You see it in a lot of private polls. If that's the same next year, he's going to have a problem. And one of his problems is going to be Republicans will start to abandon him. Republicans who are on the ballot And we've seen this with other unpopular presidents. And let's be honest, the president's unpopular. You see the challenge they face when, if you're a Senate candidate or a House candidate, and your choice is to save your job by distancing yourself from the president or stay with him, you distance yourself. That's just the nature of political beast. And a lot of Republicans are poised to do that. They're not doing it yet, but I talked to a number of Republican consultants this week who said time is now for them to start fixing the economy. Not talking about fixing the economy, not blaming Joe Biden, but to start to actually change things. And the polls are quite clear. People just have no patience for Donald Trump saying this is Joe Biden's fault. He chose to run. He took over. They've got a few months, but they don't have forever. And the real divisions that they've could face will dwarf what we saw over Epstein, what we've seen over some of these other fights where they've really not abandoned the president. Now, AI is just a massive issue, and it's being discussed every day, everywhere in government, state government, federal government, and it relates to all this stuff because AI is a driver of the American economy now. Some of the most successful companies in America and in the world are these new AI companies that are raising massive amounts of money. NVIDIA this week, real bright spot for the economy and a turnaround in the otherwise 4 bad days in the stock market. Their report of earnings was a massive thing. The president this week spending a lot of time on AI at this big conference with the Saudis in Washington. So if you're talking about what's driving the positives in the American economy right now, in the markets, in the perception that America is leading the world, in countries like Saudi Arabia wanting to deal with the United States, it's the stock market driven by AI. It's that great American advantage that we've had in all these tech booms. We saw it in the 90s with Silicon Valley and then the social media companies. It's a great American advantage. And so if you're trying to think as an American president or Commerce Secretary, Treasury Secretary, what's going to drive this economy to a positive place? You look at the successful American companies. The problem with AI is threefold. Number one, in I don't know, short, medium, or long term, but over time, on the trajectory we were on, based on everybody I've talked to and what I see, AI is going to help corporations, particularly the companies that make money off of it directly. It's going to help the wealthy, but it's not going to do very much to help people who are middle class, working class. And in fact, of course, it could hurt them because we've already seen quietly job layoffs. Companies don't want to brag about laying people off because of AI, but we're already starting to see it. So number one, AI is not a total fix for the economy, particularly for the voters. Number two, AI scares the heck out of people. And as smart as David Sachs and other people in the administration are about AI, no one has the sense that the government understands this. The Trump administration is talking about how to regulate it, but not constrain it, right? And that's a big problem because there's a part of the unease with the economy is a sense that nobody's in charge. Nobody's fixing it. Nobody's correcting what's wrong with the economy now. And AI is an extraordinarily powerful tool, and I'm more bullish on it than a lot of people. But in the short term, at least, before it's integrated safely into people's lives, it's a huge threat to people and their sense of instability and their sense that people might be getting rich off of this, but it's not them. And then finally, whatever the economic benefits of AI are going to be to revolutionize the American economy beyond the stock prices of these American leaders in the field, ain't happening before the midterms. We're not going to see a broad-based economic recovery and revolutionizing healthcare and revolutionizing production, manufacturing, services. I mean, there'll be massive changes between now and the midterms, but you're talking about fundamentally changing the economy, not going to happen. And so to some extent, it's a distraction for the companies. To some extent, it's a distraction for the White House. They need to focus on AI. But if you're talking about Trump's economic record, not his rhetoric, but his record between now and the midterms, AI is not the solution. Now, the Democratic Party doesn't have a ton of ideas. Their brand is not doing well. They don't have any leaders. All the problems we've talked about here. But at this point on this trajectory, they're good enough to win back the House. They're good enough to maybe win back the Senate. And they're good enough to keep Donald Trump on the political rope. So we'll see. The tale will be told, I think, most specifically, most clearly, in most detail, the State of the Union. The American people watch the State of the Union, the ones with open minds, and say, yeah, this guy gets it. This guy's got a theory of the case about how to fix the economy, some specific ideas, and are we starting to feel it by the spring? That's going to be the test. So don't take the snapshot and say Trump is doomed, but don't be in denial if you like Trump. Don't be in denial and say everything's fine. He is, in fact, the greatest president of all time, and this term is the most successful ever. The answer lies somewhere in between, and the tale will be told by how Donald Trump navigates all this in the weeks and months ahead. You need to ask yourself, are you being lied to? Wall Street insists the only way to have enough money to retire is to put your life savings into a 401k or an IRA and then roll the dice with it in the Wall Street casino. But if that were true, why do studies show the average American following that advice will outlive their savings by a staggering 10 years? And even the man who invented the 401k says it's a monster that should be destroyed. Now it's time to get the truth and discover a better way to grow and protect your money. Bank on Yourself is the proven retirement plan alternative banks and Wall Street desperately hope you never hear about. It gives you guaranteed predictable growth in retirement income, tax-free retirement income, built-in inflation protection, and much deserved and needed peace of mind. You can get a free report that reveals how you can bank on yourself and enjoy tax-free retirement income, guaranteed growth, and control of your own money. Just go to bankonyourself.com/Mark to get your free report. Again, that's bankonyourself.com/Mark. One more time, bankonyourself.com/Mark.